everybody.
Hello, guys.
Welcome back to Love and Rice Podcast with your host, Aunt Ma.
I'm your other host, Christina.
And if you guys are new or you're not followers yet, please make sure you become one. We're on all podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube,
Yep.
and also Instagram and TikTok. So make sure you guys follow us, support us, so we can continue doing this podcast for you guys. We are in year 2 of this.
Yeah.
Yay! So I'm excited to keep this going. I love the conversations that we have. You know, this podcast, we talk about a lot about relationships, family, Asian culture, and today we'll be talking about something that is that all people in relationships go through.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a very controversial topic because I feel like this is something that always comes up when you're in a relationship with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's whether or not you should be checking your partner's phones.
This is a make it or break it topic.
Yeah, and it's and that is exactly what it is because so many people have different expectations of what privacy should be like, how much information you should be sharing, and then it makes it very hard to like come to like a mutual agreement on things. So I guess the question here is, do you think that you should be checking your partner's phones in a relationship, and why?
You're asking me personally, yeah?
Yeah.
I would say not unless you have to,
Okay.
right? So if you trust a person completely, there's no reason to check the phone. Like I have no reason to check your phone unless I find suspicion that I'm like, maybe I should check your phone.
Yeah.
Because I have done that in the past with other past relationships. And I'll find that the only time I did check it was the only time I found something happening, you know? And it was a lot, like a whole nother life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have similar experiences too.
I haven't checked anyone else's, and I would not know if they had another life. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it never gave me the need to do that. You know, it was more because this person was always gone, missing, doing things that were not relationship wise, and stuff like that. So, for me, it's like if I love you,
Mm-hmm.
I love you enough to just not even have to worry about those things. And yeah, it just depends on the person. And I feel like if you do have to check the phone, you feel like you have to, that's already a sign and a red flag that maybe you shouldn't be in this relationship.
Yeah, so I guess there's a lot of like pros and cons of checking your partner's phones. And I think some of the pros that I've seen is that it can provide reassurance. So whether you're in a
That's a problem. That's a red flag.
Well, it depends because
you shouldn't need reassurance.
So if you're in a toxic relationship, obviously you're
That's
talking
a
about those
problem.
red flags, right? But then at the same time, you could be in a very long relationship, and when you're in these relationships, like couples tend to get comfortable and you forget to reassure the other people on things, whether it's like by being emotionally available, physically available, and maybe there might be things that come up that changes the dynamic of your relationship. And I think a lot for women, it's more of like, why is there this shift in the relationship? Why is he not talking to me as much? Why is he so busy? How come he's so distant? And I think it's like providing reassurance to your partner to let them know like, oh, I'm really just busy. Like I'm working all the time. It's not because I'm avoiding you because I'm talking to another person or I'm not interested in you. Because when these things come up, I feel like it's because that person has gone through very traumatic experiences. So then it kind of trickles into your relationships, and even though you trust your partner, it's like you need that reassurance of like, hey, I'm just doing this and communicating things.
I think that's why I feel like it's a me problem, as in that person's problem. And can someone help them to make them feel better? Yes, they can, but that person who has the issue needs to let them know that they need that reassurance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like there's so many different levels of concerns here, right? Like when you say a guy is busy and like, there's different levels, right? There's people who are just starting off their life with jobs and careers and stuff. And they're at the beginning phase of building,
Right.
and it could be sketchy if they're like, yeah, I'm kind of busy, I'm trying to get my life together, who knows, right? For us, it's like we've been married for what, 12 years, 13 years, and we have kids, we have house, we moved far away from each
Mm-hmm.
other. And if I am unavailable, it's probably because my mental focus has shifted for some goals that I have. And it's like, okay, here's the time I'm actually gonna do it and focus,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
like nothing else is on my mind but that, right? And then there's other people who are on like even higher level where they make so much money that now they are able to focus back on the relationship and things, and that they should, right? So like I don't know, it's a case by case situation, I think,
Yes.
you know.
And I think that's why it's important to be transparent and to have that open communication because
You think you should check my phone?
um I mean, I feel like I don't really need to
Yeah.
because you haven't really given me any reason to. And
Uh-huh.
then I think like if I have issues with, I feel like if you're being too distant with me or if you're not spending enough time with me or paying attention to me, I will communicate it to you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the healthier approach because I can go and check your phone whenever I decide, I want to be sneaky or whatever. But
Yeah.
to me, I feel like that's so draining because I've done that in the past in other relationships. And I feel like every time you do that, you're gonna find something. And
Yeah.
whether it's like cheating or whatever it is, like you're just gonna find something where it's gonna confuse you and it's gonna create issues compared to if you just didn't check at all.
I think that's the problem. So if you trust someone and you still check their stuff and you find something, like you said, it will confuse you
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know the reason behind of what they're doing,
Right.
right? You don't know the intentions. And it could be the most innocent intention and you're thinking the worst thing possible,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're arguing and fighting and now the relationship's on the rocks, and it's like it's really weird to even have to be in that situation when it never should have gone there. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So like that's why privacy is important
Mm-hmm.
and the communication is important. But when sometimes things are so innocent, you feel like there's no reason that you need to communicate those things because you don't think it's an issue, right?
Yeah. And actually, I've noticed that with couples nowadays, I don't know, maybe because of past experiences, but there are a lot of couples who actually are very open and agree to being on the same page as to like sharing their passwords, for example.
We do that. I give you all my passwords. You don't remember it, but I gave it to you.
Well, because they're for work things. But we're talking about like because we need access to these emails or accounts or whatever it
Hmm.
is, and they're kind of more like neutral passwords, right? But you're not gonna have the same passwords when it comes to like private email accounts and other things. So I think that's what I'm referring to as more like people are okay with like giving each other their social media account
Hmm.
passwords and like their email accounts. So it's kind of like giving them that transparency of like, I have nothing to hide. If you want, you can look into my stuff and not find
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
I actually commend you on having this trust for me, especially in the last couple of years that I've been doing real estate,
Mm-hmm.
because I talk to a lot of people to network.
Right.
I talk to a lot of people who DM me for a house, and there's a fair share of women that
Mm-hmm.
DM me, and I keep it strictly business, right? Some of them do become friends with them on the business side,
Yeah.
right? And that I introduce you to eventually and stuff like that. And so, thank you for allowing me the freedom to grow my business for our family and things like that because of your trust.
Yeah. So I think.
Wait, I said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. But well, I mean, I was gonna go back to how I got there though, because like it wasn't easy. I think before, like you're it's easier for you to talk to random people and approach them and not be scared of that. But for me, I don't feel comfortable with like just hitting up anyone and trying to like connect and do all these things,
Well,
right?
because my intentions are different, right?
Yeah.
So, behind my meeting people are thousands of dollars for our family.
Mm-hmm.
So when I meet people, I'm like, okay, here's a transaction. Here's someone that I need to help and someone who needs my help. So like the end goal when I see someone and meet them and talk to them is help and also income for the family. So like that's all I see on the other end, nothing else. You know what I mean? Like from the very beginning.
Yeah, but I guess it's like even before real estate and everything else. And I think because it's just very available to be able to like communicate with anyone
Yeah.
online, right? And build connections. So for me, it took me some time because in the beginning I was like, oh, is it necessary for him to like reach out to all these people and try to like connect with them? And I had to like understand the reasoning behind it. And I think I got comfortable with it over time. It was because I had to ask you about it. Like if I
Hmm.
saw new connections and other things, I would have to ask you about it and why you're doing it and trying to understand the intentions.
You don't even also know, like the first probably paragraph of talking to someone is like already introducing my wife, my family. We love this, we love
Yeah.
that. You know, so like
Yeah,
it's
but
already cut off.
yeah, and I think it's my responsibility to understand why you're reaching out to these particular people because there might like I have my own feedback of people, right? If I'm like, oh, I don't know if they would fit in this category of like us working together and other things, so it's like up to me to be able to
Hmm.
like distinguish that, right? So I think I wasn't always comfortable with it. But over time, as you get more comfortable in the relationship, and I feel like if I held things back and I didn't say anything and I just kept it to myself, like it would constantly bottle up, and then insecurities would happen, assumptions, and then the problems just get worse. So
Here, the thing that people always say is that all the thoughts you have in your head are gonna get worse and worse if you don't talk about it.
hmm
And it's like you're fighting with yourself when all that stuff you're thinking about has nothing to do with actually what's going on, you know? And so it's that's the worst battle that you can have, which is why, asking things is probably the best thing. And asking without the intention of thinking something bad, because when you ask, it's literally a fight from the beginning.
yeah,
And that's the worst part, because then it's like, now, if I start getting upset and frustrated with, whoa, where's this coming from? Now it sounds like I'm being defensive of doing something wrong when it's actually not. I'm just
but
confused of why you're mad at something that I'm innocent with.
yeah, and I think that's why communication is so important because if I'm gonna bring up an issue to you and then
Hmm.
you start getting defensive, like you're trying to hide something, then it's
Yeah.
like red flag, right? So I think it's important to like communicate, but also understand your partner's way of
Yeah.
communicating and if they're showing anything that might make you insecure. I don't know. Like that's why some people feel like they need to
I
go that
think,
far.
you want to talk about the one fight that we had?
Which one? I mean, we've had so many. I don't
Okay.
even know which one you're talking
So
about.
there was one time, I think you're checking my Instagram for something, and then you saw that I was following. This is at the time when TikTok just became really popular. Okay, and people were getting really, really famous on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
and there was only like 5 people that were blowing up like crazy. And we're talking about from TikTok to being on TV, to being in music, to being in like having friends with NBA players, sports players, celebrities, all this stuff, and like it's really crazy, right? And there's like, for example, at the time it was like Dixie and Charlie,
Mm-hmm.
right? These young girls, and then I started following them because I'm like, damn, these girls are blowing up. I saw them on the NBA All Star game. Who are they? Why are people like? Why are they so famous? And what are they doing to get there? Right. So those were all my thoughts when I
Yeah.
see these people. I'm like, who are they? Right? They're so young, and then now all of a sudden they got a music career and it's on the fucking radio. I'm like, I'm gonna follow and see what they do and see how this works, because I'm trying to also understand social media myself, right? And then you saw that I was following them, and you're like, why are you following these young little girls for?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
and
weird
I was
to
like,
me. That
you
was
know,
so weird to me. And you know what it was? The thing that triggered me is because of what they got famous for and then also the age. Because to me, I feel like it's like, whoa, this is so weird.
see,
Why is an older guy like following a young girl?
we had two different reasons of why they got famous. Your reason was dancing.
And
Okay.
don't act like
No, no,
that's
no.
exactly what it
Okay,
was, though.
no, but for me, it's not dancing, because when I look at TikTok, I never wanted to be on it because I'm like, fuck this type of thing. Like, I don't do that kind of content. And second, the first time I saw them was at the NBA game doing TikToks at the All Star game with every basketball player at the All Star, like LeBron and everybody. I'm like, that's what I saw them get famous for. So
Mm.
what I saw was them relating to basketball to me.
Yeah, to me, all
You
I
know?
know is that they got popular for dancing. So I'm just like, why is he trying to analyze these people who are like super young at the
Yeah,
time?
no, I was just like, it went from me from basketball. I'm like, oh, okay, they're TikToks, and then not watching their TikToks, and then also now seeing their stuff on the radio, and I'm like, whoa, okay, what just happened in that time span? Now it's actually analyzing those girls and how they got there and how successful they are, you know. And I think the problems came when you're thinking like what you said, right? Like, why are you looking at these young little girls? And I'm like, wait, hold
Yeah,
up,
that
I'm
was
not.
weird to me.
And now I'm getting mad at you, like, wait a minute, you should know me by now and my hustle mentality, and that I'm doing research and why and how to get there like them,
Yeah, I
right?
guess for me, because I'm so protective as a woman and protective of girls and everything else and everything I've gone through in my past experiences, where I feel like, whoa, I feel violated because I never gave you any shit about like following older people and people who are
Mm-hmm.
like within the same age range. But then when
Yeah.
I saw that, I was just like, whoa, that's like kind of a boundary that I'm not comfortable with. And even though
Yeah.
your intentions were not like what I was like uncomfortable with,
Yeah.
right? Like to me, I was still just like, oh, that's triggering. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
weird.
It opened a whole new world for me because at that same time, the YouTube space blew up crazily. And it was a space that I don't think you understood at the time. For me, it's like we were in YouTube for 6 years already
Yeah.
or 5 years already. And now we're seeing people like Logan Paul, Jake Paul doing boxing matches on pay per view. And they're putting YouTubers on the map, you know, and nobody who's not that deep into the influencer world understands that even if these people are disliked, the fact that they are putting YouTubers on the map, YouTubers are capable of being on pay per view, $50 million, you know, brand deals because of boxing. That's eye opening. That wow, YouTubers can do this, and now they're making music. Bam! Now these TikTokers are making music and music videos, and now have a TV series. I'm just like mind blown of the capabilities coming from influencers. And that opened a whole new world to me to be like, I need to follow all these people to see how this happened. Like, do they have agents? Do they have friends they're collabing with? How are they getting collabs with famous people? Like, that's all the research that I'm doing, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
And I think maybe for me, it was just weird because I'm like, I would feel weird if I'm following like teenagers or younger people. Like even if I was following like younger guys, I would be like, this is weird. I feel like
yeah, at some
I'm
point you're like,
creeping,
okay,
you know,
I'm
right? Like why
good.
am I following these?
Yeah. I mean, by the
So
time I have enough research, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Delete or
yeah.
unfollow.
But I
You know
guess
what I
to me,
mean?
I'm also like, you could just research and not follow. So I think I was just like, because it takes that extra step to get there. And I'm like, that's just weird to me. You know,
Oh
it's like,
no. The follow for me was like um their height of their success just started and they keep blowing up to where I need to see everything they're doing to see what's blowing up, how it's blowing up every single time, you know?
yeah. And I think for me, because it's like majority of the videos, like 99% of the videos are like of them dancing. So I was just like, oh,
Yeah, but
that's weird for
you
me.
don't see that this is a problem where it causes confusion,
Yeah,
guys.
because I don't follow them, so
She
I don't know what they're posting.
it's not even about that. It's like you thinking I'm watching them dance, but when I see their dance in my feed, I'm scrolling past the dance because I don't want to see that. But what I see is that the sister Charlie having a Dunkin' coffee in every video, and then people commenting about the coffee, and I'm like, maybe this is what Christina can do because she loves coffee. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's like it's the thinking and thought process is so different and so innocent, and when you don't communicate it, it becomes such a weird situation for the relationship,
Yeah, and that's
you
why
know?
I'm saying it's very controversial because everyone has their own take of
Yeah.
certain things, and when you don't talk about it, it just blows up, and you're like, what the,
So
like, what is going on?
what did we learn from that lesson though? Like, does that, you know, like that's because you accidentally saw my Instagram following list, and I don't know, like, now do you care to check, you know?
Um, if I feel like there's anything weird or I feel like you're being distant from
Yeah.
me, and I'll be like, what is he researching on now? But I mean, I
Right.
hardly ever do it, but um, once in a while, I'll just see. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You can keep in check. That's fine. It's I think it's fine when you keep in check because I would like to do that too. I would like to look at sometimes who you're following and who you're engaging with, and
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I'm like, who are you texting at this hour?
Yeah,
Stuff like
and
that.
like I said, with social media being so huge now, like it's so easy to have access to everything and everyone. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like it's just out there. Like before you had dating apps and all these things, but now like even when I go on my For You page on my Instagram, I'm like, why is it showing me all these naked, like half naked girls, and it's showing
Mm-hmm.
all these things, and I'm like, damn, this is like free on the internet now. So it's like, where's the privacy and the discretion and all of this stuff? So and that tends to make people insecure because they're like, whoa, like all of these things, like they're just out there for my man or whoever to look at. Like that's
Yeah, you
weird.
just gotta trust your partner, though. That's what I'm kind of saying here. It's
Yeah.
like those things are always gonna be there. It's like you go out on the street, we're walking together, and then a girl walks by, and you're like, "Why are you looking at that girl?" You know, and like girls are always gonna walk in front of you, and that's also gonna be available all the time. Doesn't matter if it's social media or you're walking on the street. It's always gonna be there. You just gotta trust the person that you're with, because even sometimes if you see your partner looking, it doesn't mean they're looking at that. Like I look at everything. Okay. If we're sitting down in a restaurant and I see an old lady pass by, I'm looking at her. If I see a person who's overweight, I'm looking at them. If I see someone who's young, I'm looking at them. I'm looking at everybody, but it feels like the other person only feels weird when it's a hot girl,
Or
right?
like a half naked girl
Right,
or
but it's
something.
like, yeah, and then sometimes I'll look at that, but not for the reason of like, like if we're sitting at a restaurant and this half naked girl comes in, my mind is like, what the fuck is she wearing?
And that has
You know,
happened. Like
it's
we're
like
eating, you're like, oh my gosh,
I'm
look at
I'm
her
sh-
outfit. I'm like,
I'm shocked. Like
yeah.
that's weird, right? But then because I'm a guy, you're gonna think, why is he looking at it? The suspect.
Well, I'm also like, that's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I am seeing that because it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm on the same page as you, right? I'm just calling it out. But I'm not gonna call out like, um, look at this 500-pound person. You know what I mean? Like that's I don't know. I look at that too, right? But you're not gonna say, why is he looking at that person? We look at everybody.
Yeah. I think it's more of like analyzing the area and always knowing, I mean, I guess assessing
Right?
the environment.
It's the same thing. If I see someone who's 7 feet tall walking in, I'm like, I'm looking at them, and then if I tell you, you don't say anything.
Yeah, so I
know?
guess that's the difference though, because like that's the huge difference between males and females, because guys tend to look at everything, right? But then like,
You know why we look at everything? To make sure we're not in danger.
well, that too. But like girls, I think we tend to, if we're with someone, we tend to just focus 1,000% on that person. So it's like there will be guys who walk around and try to like look at you and like gesture at you and do all these things, but we choose to just not pay attention to it, not to say anything, because we don't want to make you feel any way about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, if you have to comment about like a girl being half naked, then that's like, oh, okay, like cool for letting me know, but also that's weird, like, because
Yeah.
if we see stuff with guys, like if guys will look at me and they're like giving me a flirtatious look, I'm just not gonna be like, oh my gosh, he's looking at me. Like I just zone it out and I'm like, whatever, it doesn't matter.
That's where you should communicate it, because yeah, I think if you were younger in a dating phase, there might be jealousy, right? When the guy's looking at you and you're like, hey, that guy's looking at me, and I'm like, sup, fool? Like that's when you're kids, right? But now at this age where we have family, we have foundation, like there's nobody else to break us apart. And you see a guy look at you and you tell me, I'd be like, oh yeah, I see that. You know what I mean?
I think because
That's all.
when we were first going out, you used to get super
That's what I'm saying. That's
jealous.
how it
Yeah.
is, because you don't know what can happen
Yep.
that you will do it back to that person, right? But now I trust you to not do those things back to the person and stuff like that. So now when you communicate it, it's funny situations to see, because we're on the same team,
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's different nowadays.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Because I'm also like,
I know when guys
because I don't want him to. I don't want him to make a remark because he would.
no, I know when guys look at you.
Yeah.
I don't say anything, but I know when they do, and then sometimes I'm like, damn, that guy was staring at you pretty hard.
Yeah, you
know?
say it out loud for them to hear. That's why I'm like, oh, this is so awkward. I don't want to have any conversation.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, sometimes when a guy is looking at you really hard, I'll walk by and be like, damn, this guy's looking at you like crazy.
I know. It's so awkward for me, so I just don't say anything.
But I mean, it's so disrespectful. I'm not trying to get in a fight. I don't care. I really don't care that you're looking at my wife. I'm just saying, like, at some point it becomes disrespectful. So I will make a remark to make you feel uncomfortable.
Well, you make everyone feel uncomfortable. But I get it, yes, because some people do it where they have no boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if they cross the boundary and make me feel uncomfortable looking at my wife, I will make you feel uncomfortable as well.
Yeah.
Not you, but that person.
Yeah. And I think it's
for fun.
I think it's very important to keep other people in check and also your partners, because there could be people who are trying to like reach out to you or like DM you or vice versa with me and stuff. So it's like having that open communication to like know that that person's blocking it off and not letting it progress, right? So
I guess now we've talked about all these scenarios and things, and we've kind of said our answers of should we check our partner's phone, and it's really if you have to. But if you had to do a yes and no question or answer, what would that be? Should you check your partner's phone? Yes or no?
That's hard because it's going to be on a case-by-case situation.
I'm just going to say no.
I mean, I don't care. I think there should be a boundary of privacy and like...
I'm talking about in the perfect scenario where you're in a very loving relationship where you don't need to check it, okay? You shouldn't feel any sort of jealousy or confidence problems. Like, if everything's all good, do you feel like you still need to check the phone?
No.
Do you think you're allowed to check the phone?
I think you should be allowed to, but
yes, okay, I agree with you on that.
You need to.
You are always allowed to check anything you want.
Yeah.
But should you? I don't think so.
I think it's more of just talking to your partner.
But if you really want to, you can. Sure, go ahead. But I'm just gonna tell you, like, that's gonna break a little bit of my trust. Where I'm like, why do you feel like that?
And that's what it is. Like, that's the issue.
That's
because
the problem.
It can lead to more trust issues throughout the relationship.
Yeah. So when you're saying that this kind of causes like friction in the relationship, do you think it will actually hurt the relationship at the end of the day or make it stronger?
I think it really depends on what comes out of it, because if you do it and something happens and comes up and there's more issues, then like your relationship is just tainted if you can't get through it. Man,
now when you have that perspective, I changed my answer to yes, you should check your partner's phone, because now it saved you from a really bad future.
Yeah. and I say this from experience. Okay, so going through this, like, honestly, like, I did this in one of my previous relationships, because sometimes you just have like a feeling where you know that you just need to get to that point. And it's to the point where it's like, I was like playing detective and spy, and I was like looking through the phone and their computer, going through their history, looking at stuff. And the shit that I would find was very traumatizing, okay? And it was to the point where I'm finding that this guy was like going through people's social media pages like Facebook and other things, and like people, they post, a lot of people are very open with what they post online. They'll post like bikini pics of them flashing the camera or whatever it is, and this guy was like saving images of people, and they're like mutuals, people that I knew. So for me to see that stuff and like to see that they're saving these pictures onto their computer, it makes you wonder, like, what is wrong with this guy? And he has a problem. Why is he doing all of this stuff? So and then once you find one thing, yes, that breaks the trust in the relationship. And then it becomes an obsession and unhealthy habit, because you're like, oh shit, what am I gonna find? What else? Like, I need to start checking his shit every day to see what I'm gonna find. And now you find more.
You're addicted to finding stuff. You're addicted,
exactly. And that's what it is. So it's like you're spending so much of your time obsessed with trying to find new things.
See, but that's the mentality of someone who's young
Yeah, I was pretty
in
young at the
those young
time.
relationships. You know what I mean? Because at this age, you don't give a shit,
Yeah.
right? And
Well, you do
you
if you're
do,
with the wrong person.
but like, okay, for me, it's like this right now. If I found any suspicion of you, it's I can go the old ways of like let's check her phone and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I think right now it's my thought process more of like, you know what? If you are gonna do something behind my back, all I can say is, fuck you, your loss, you ruined it. I'm gonna move on,
Yeah.
right? If we find out whatever happens,
Mhm.
instead of me being like searching and then like bringing it up to you and being sad
It's
about it and like I
exhausting.
don't care,
I've been
man. Like
there.
if it happens, it happens. And when I find out, it's like, you know, it's your loss. You destroyed it. Goodbye.
Yeah, and from your experience, because I've only done this once, like really like deep dive into it.
Yeah.
With your one experience, did you find shit?
I found a lot of stuff. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like you kind of just know, and when it gets to that point, that relationship is already done.
Yeah.
Like you, even no matter how long you try to progress it and make it work, like it's already done once it gets to that point. So, I don't know, and I feel like it does trickle into relationships, and it makes it hard for you to like trust other people in new relationships. Because I think because I feel like we almost went through that around the same time. So when we first got together, like that trauma like dragged into the relationship where there was like no trust, and we're fighting about all of these things and worrying about getting cheated on and all that stuff, right? So yeah, I don't know. But like I would say currently, like if I feel like you're being distant, or we're not talking as much, or there's some kind of disconnect, I'm not gonna lie, when I'm laying in bed I'm like, do I need to go through his phone? Should I look to see if there's anything I'm gonna find? But I'm like, no, man, I'm tired. Like, I don't have energy for this stuff. And then if I feel like there's things that come up in my mind, for a while I would hold it in and I wouldn't act on it. But then after a while I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna keep doing this to myself, and then also the relationship. And I think that's when I would bring it up to you and talk about everything. And you gotta face it, like knowing that if I bring up these things, you might get defensive, I might get defensive, but like if we don't talk about it, like it's just gonna be assumptions and like hostility.
Okay. Well, I think okay, so here's my final answer. Every partner has the right to look at your phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to the both of you to figure out, you know, the jealousy, overprotective, defensive parts, or how that's all figured out. But at some point, no one should feel like they need to check your phone, but they should still have the right to without anybody getting mad.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like if they're giving you signs where you feel like you need to, it could be them like, I don't know, obvious signs are like putting the phone face down, putting it on silent, not
Our phone's always on
phone.
silent though.
Well, mine's it too, but like it's more of like,
you know when my phone's not on silent? When we go somewhere together and then we break away from like grocery store shopping or something.
Yeah, so you can hear it.
And then Costco.
Yep. Always
I
Costco.
put it on very loud so I know that you can find, like, you're gonna call me because you're gonna be like, where are you?
And
That's when I
sometimes you
take it
don't
off
answer.
silent. Other than that, it's always on silent.
Yeah, I think it's like when you see stuff like that, or it's like a lot of the times people will like test the other partner and they're like, oh, can I see your phone? Like I need to do something. And then if they're like, oh no, like, oh, hold on, let me like erase stuff, then that's like a problem. But I will say from past experiences that if there's nothing wrong in the relationship, I'd rather not look through the phone, because you're gonna find something that you don't like I said before, and it's probably an unnecessary issue that doesn't even need to come up. But yeah, you're always gonna find something you don't like that's gonna become an issue. I just don't want to do that to myself anymore.
What about do you think every partner should allow what is it called, phone tracking? Like what is it called, Find My iPhone app? where they allow people to see their locations?
I think that's healthy for us. Like we just started doing that. I don't know, like in more recent times. But to me,
it's been a few years.
Yeah, I do it because I get anxiety because I'm like, if I don't hear from you, I'm like, where is this guy? Like, is he coming home yet? But it's also if you're somewhere and I'm trying to figure out where you are and when you're gonna be home because I need to make dinner to see.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that when I get to see how far away you are from home, so I know when I need to cook certain foods.
Yep. Or when you're going on a trip, I'm like, is he safe? Is he home? Like, where is he? You know, so it's more of like a sense of security. I follow my sister's location. We share locations, and my parents too. And I tell them, I'm like, hey, if anything happens, I need to know where you guys are. And that's kind of the same for me. But yeah, like I think it's healthy.
Yeah. I agree. I think everyone should allow to follow everyone's locations for security reasons. I think that overwrites any kind of issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you are the one that's like, I don't want to share locations, I don't know, you are probably doing something you shouldn't do, and either that's a huge red flag or it's just stop doing what you're doing.
Yep.
You know? So, yeah. Looking at people's phones is a crazy thing, man.
Have you checked my phone?
Have I checked your phone? I think I've checked it before.
In the beginning?
I think I've checked it a few years ago because there was a time when you're always on the phone when I'm driving. Always.
Yeah.
And the reason why I have a problem with that is because you don't know your locations. You don't know where you're going. You don't know your directions.
Yeah.
And it's because you're always on your phone. And I'm like, dude, how do you not know where this is? How to get there without using GPS, you know? And so when I see you on your phone and I find out it's because you're playing crossword puzzles all the time, and your crossword puzzles are with random people and friends that I don't even know you have or talk to in 10 years. And like, guys don't just play games with girls for fun for a long time. Yeah. They do it because they like playing with you and because they like you, right? So when I see you're playing with 10 guys and I'm like...
it's like random.
And I'm like, the fuck? Why is she always playing with guys? This is weird. This is a first in all of my relationships.
He's talking about Words with Friends, by the way, which I still play. And I like to play these types of games because these are games that I love playing.
But why gotta play every time in the car?
It helps keep my mind sharp, right? Because it's like...
Obviously not. You don't even know the directions.
That's always been a problem I've had, though. Like,
all you gotta do is open your eyes and you'll see north, south, west, east. You'll know where the freeway is, where the mountain is.
Yeah, I don't know. That's always been something.
Yeah, because you're always on your phone. So that was like weird to me where I'm like, you know what? I want to look through a couple things on her phone because this is weird.
Did you find anything?
I didn't look that deep.
Oh, okay.
I just looked for a couple seconds. Fuck yeah, I don't care. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you know why though? Because
like
these were games that you used to play with me.
Yeah, and I can't play it because I'm driving your ass everywhere.
What do you mean? Well,
you know, but what's what you said about like you're always gonna find something that you don't like, you know, and what I found was her playing games with other guys.
Yeah,
I don't like that, but that's unnecessary digging.
Yeah,
like who cares?
Yep.
Play if you want to play. You know what I mean? If I look into it more, I'm just gonna get more upset.
That's
like,
what I'm saying. Like you'll find things that are so innocent.
It's just stupid.
And that's one of the major fallbacks of checking a partner's phone when it's one-sided, right? It's like if I'm sneaking around and I'm looking through your shit and I'm like, what is this conversation he's having with this person? And it could be the most innocent thing, but it's one-sided, right? So I'm already going in with the intent of what am I gonna find? He's flirting, whatever it is.
It's so stupid because I can fight with you all day about why don't you download a word scramble game where you're playing an AI robot?
I do play with robots too.
Okay, but you know what I mean? But I could fight all day on like, why the hell are you playing with random people or friends that you don't really talk to anymore? Yeah. But you still have this connection with them that should be cut.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day,
it could go the same way, right? Exactly. Right. It could be the same.
But at the end of the day, if I don't give a fuck about what she's doing like that, I am more at ease. It just really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So it's like, you choose your battles. You
Yeah.
know, you don't have to fight about everything. You just gotta trust your partner and be happy.
Yep.
At the end of the day, that's all it is.
Yep. Just have that open communication. Because if there's something that I don't like or I don't feel comfortable with, like I've gone to the point where I'm just gonna let you know how I feel, and most of the time it resolves itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So at the end of the day, I wouldn't suggest checking your partner's phone.
you wouldn't? Is that what you said?
I wouldn't with the
Oh.
intent of trying to find something, because I feel like it becomes it gets really hard.
It's hurtful for the person you're checking if you get caught.
Yeah.
And it's also hurtful for yourself when you're checking. Now, if you actually find something, I mean, damn. Like, you.
I see that a lot. People
Yeah.
post about it all the time, and it's crazy. And I think that's why people feel like they need to check phones, because
Yeah.
people will be in relationships where like the guy will treat them perfect and there's no red flags. They give them all the passwords, let them check everything, but they do it because they're so good at what they're hiding that they're deleting everything, that there's nothing to find, right? So and a lot of people do that, and they trick people into thinking that everything's good, and then you end up finding that out that they have a whole ass family somewhere else.
Family?
I see I see a lot of stuff online and people posting their stories about finding out all these things, and it's always, there were no red flags. Like, he treated me like a queen. He got me all these things, and like we were still very intimate and physical. Like there was nothing in the relationship until they come across their phone or something pops up and they're like, oh, you know. So
That's weird.
and I think because it's so like readily available and people see these things, it triggers something where you're like, oh shit, like my relationship's perfect. Maybe it's too perfect and I need to check their phones now.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. All I gotta say is, if you got a good relationship, no need to check.
Yeah.
If you feel like there's red flags, go for it. Check.
Yeah. Like,
But let them know that you want to check it. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
I think it has to be mutual.
it does
Like,
have to be mutual.
you have to both be on the same page and be willing to exchange that information with each other and be okay with it. And then eventually it's not going to be, you wouldn't have to do it anymore. So, yeah.
I hope you guys have learned a little bit from this episode. I don't know. You guys can comment down below if you guys have checked your partner's phone.
And if you have, what have you found? I
Oh,
wanna know. I
damn.
wanna
Juicy
know.
stories in the comments.
I'll share my stories too.
God damn.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yep.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you guys follow and subscribe on all podcast platforms, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And we'll catch you guys next time on Love and Rice.